Book 11. 1. These are the traits of the rational soul. It sees itself. It shapes and regulates every part of itself. It enjoys the fruit it creates, unlike plants or animals whose products are enjoyed by others. It achieves its own goal, no matter when life comes to an end. If a dance or a play is interrupted, the whole performance is ruined. But the rational soul is different. No matter what it is doing, or when death finally comes, it makes its own part complete and fully sufficient. It can confidently say, "I have received what is mine." The rational soul also explores the entire universe and the empty space around it, understanding its design. It reaches out into limitless eternity. It grasps the endless cycles of rebirth, seeing clearly that those who come after us will see nothing new. Likewise, those who came before us saw nothing more than we do now. In fact, anyone who has reached 40 years old and has a basic understanding of the world has already seen everything that ever was and ever will be, because things constantly repeat themselves. The rational soul is also defined by love for everyone around us, truth, modesty, and above all else, self-respect. This self-respect is a trait shared by the universal law. Therefore, there is no conflict between right reason and the reason of justice. 2. You will quickly lose interest in a beautiful song, a dance, or a gymnastics routine if you break them down. If you separate the melody into single notes and ask yourself, "Does this one note impress me?" you will be embarrassed to admit it does not. The same happens if you break a dance down into individual movements and poses, or do the same for a gymnastic display. As a general rule, with the exception of virtue and virtuous actions, remember to look at the individual parts of things. By taking them apart, you will see how unimpressive they really are. Apply this habit to life as a whole. 3. How happy is the soul that is ready to leave the body when the time comes? Whether it is meant to be extinguished, scattered into the universe, or to survive in some other form. But this readiness must come from your own clear judgment. It should not come from simple stubbornness, as we see with the Christians. It must be deliberate and dignified, without any dramatic or tragic flair. That way, your calm acceptance can inspire others to feel the same. For, have I done anything for the common good? If so, then I have already benefited myself. Keep this thought with you always, and never stop acting on it. 5. What is your profession? To be good. And how else can you achieve this if not by holding sound principles? Principles about the universe as a whole, and about human nature in particular. 6. First, tragic plays were created to remind us of reality. They show us that certain events simply happen, and they are fated to happen exactly as they do. They teach us that the things which entertain us on stage should not break our hearts on the greater stage of the real world. You see that these struggles must be endured. Even the characters who cried out in agony had to bear their burdens. Our tragic playwrights have spoken some excellent truths, especially lines like these, "If the gods neglect me and my children, it is for some good reason." Or again, "It is useless to be angry at external things." And also, "We must reap our lives like ears of ripened corn." After tragedy came old comedy. It spoke with the harsh freedom of a strict teacher. By using plain, direct language, it did a great job of teaching humility. Diogenes used a very similar method. Next, consider the purpose of middle comedy. Finally, think about why new comedy was introduced. It eventually decayed into nothing more than clever but empty mimicry. It is true that the writers of new comedy still said a few useful things. But what real purpose did they have for all that poetry and playmaking? 7. It is incredibly clear that no other path in life is better suited for the practice of philosophy than the one you are on right now. 8. A branch cut off from the branch next to it is completely separated from the entire tree. In the same way, a person who turns away from a single fellow human has fallen away from the whole community. A branch is cut off by someone else. But a person separates himself from his neighbor by his own actions, through hatred and avoidance. He does not realize that by doing this, he has ripped himself away from the universal community. Yet, the founder of this great community has given us a remarkable gift. We always have the power to graft ourselves back onto our kind. we can once again become natural parts that complete the whole. However, if this separation happens too often, it becomes harder and harder to reunite and restore the broken piece. As gardeners will tell you, a branch that has always grown with the tree and stayed connected is not the same as one that was cut off and grafted back on. They might grow on the same tree, but they no longer share the same mind. 9. When people oppose you on the path of right reason, they have no power to stop you from doing what is right. In the exact same way, do not let them stop you from treating them with kindness. Be equally vigilant in 2 areas. First, stick to your steady judgment and right actions. Second, stay gentle toward those who try to stop or bother you. Getting angry at them is just as weak as giving up and accepting defeat. Both reactions make you a deserter. You run away if you give up in fear, and you run away if you refuse to stand by your fellow humans as friends and family. 10. Nature can never be inferior to art, because all art is just an imitation of nature. If that is true, then nature, being the most perfect and comprehensive force of all, cannot be less capable than human skill. All arts take lesser materials and use them for higher purposes. The universe does the exact same thing. This is where justice comes from, and all other virtues grow out of justice. But we cannot preserve justice if we care too much about things that do not truly matter. We will lose it if we allow ourselves to be easily fooled, act recklessly, or constantly change our minds. 11. The things that trouble you, the ones you desperately chase or try to avoid, do not actually come to you. Instead, you are the one going to them. Let your judgment about them find peace. Then they will remain perfectly still, and you will no longer be caught in the endless cycle of chasing them or running away. 12. The soul takes on a perfect, sphere-like shape when it stops reaching out for external things and stops shrinking back into itself. It should neither collapse inward nor stretch out aggressively. Instead, it should shine with a steady light. By this light, it can see the truth in all things, both out in the world and deep within itself. 13. Does anyone despise me? That is his problem. My only concern is to make sure I do not say or do anything that deserves to be despised. Does anyone hate me? That is his business. I will remain kind and good-natured to everyone. I will be ready to show the person who hates me where he went wrong. I will not do this to scold him or to show off my own patience. I will do it out of genuine goodness, just like Phocion used to do, assuming his goodness was truly sincere. Your inner character should be so pure that the divine powers never see you angry or complaining about anything. Why should it feel like a hardship to simply act in harmony with your own nature? Why struggle to accept what the universe decides is right for this moment? After all, you are a human being, placed here to serve the common good. 14. People despise one another, yet they still flatter each other. They constantly try to climb over one another, yet they grovel at each other's feet. 15. How fake and rotten is the man who says, I am going to be totally honest with you. What are you doing, my friend? There is no need to announce it. Your honesty should speak for itself. True sincerity should be written clearly on your forehead. A person's character should shine right out of their eyes, just as someone who is loved can instantly feel it in the gaze of the person who loves them. A genuinely good and honest person should be like someone with a strong smell. A passerby notices them the second they get close, whether they want to or not. Making a big show of your honesty is just hiding a dagger under your cloak. There is nothing worse than the fake friendship of a wolf. Avoid it above all else. A truly good, honest, and kind person shows all these traits in their eyes, and you simply cannot miss it. 16. The soul has the power to live the best possible life, as long as it remains indifferent to things that do not truly matter. You can achieve this indifference by looking at everything carefully, both in its parts and as a whole. Remember that no external object can force you to have an opinion about it, nor can it force its way into your mind. Things stand completely still outside of us. We are the ones who create judgments about them, effectively writing these opinions into our own hearts. We have the power to stop writing them down. And if a false judgment sneaks in by accident, we can wipe it out instantly. We only need to keep up this guard for a short time, and then life will be over. Why should we view this effort as difficult? If an event aligns with nature, embrace it happily, and dealing with it will become easy. If it goes against nature, figure out what actually fits your true self and pursue that fiercely. Do this even if it brings you no fame or glory. Everyone is forgiven for simply seeking their own true good. 17. Look closely at where every object came from and what materials it is made of. Think about what it will eventually transform into, and what state it will be in after that change. Remember that through all of this, it will suffer no harm. 18. When people offend me, I must keep these things in mind. First, consider how I am connected to all of humanity. We were made for one another. In another sense, as a leader, I was placed over them like a ram over a flock or a bull over a herd. But look even deeper. The universe is either a random chaotic crash of atoms, or it is governed by an intelligent nature. If it is guided by intelligence, then lower beings were created for the sake of the higher, and the higher beings were created to help one another. Secondly, look at how these people act at the dinner table, in bed, and everywhere else. Pay special attention to the core principles they blindly follow, and notice how much arrogant pride they take in their own actions. Thirdly, if they are doing the right thing, I have no reason to be upset. If they are doing the wrong thing, it is obvious they are doing it by mistake and out of ignorance. No soul willingly chooses to be deprived of the truth, nor do they willingly fail to treat others fairly. People are deeply hurt when they are called unjust, ungrateful, greedy, or bad neighbors. Fourthly, you make mistakes all the time. You are no better than anyone else. Even if you manage to avoid certain bad behaviors, you still carry the deep urge to commit them. You are only holding back out of cowardice, a fear for your reputation, or some other selfish reason. Fifthly, you cannot even be absolutely sure they have done anything wrong. Many actions are done with good reasons that are hidden from you. Generally speaking, you need to learn a lot more about a person's motives before you can fairly judge their behavior. Sixthly, when you are exhausted and overflowing with anger, remind yourself that human life lasts only for a fleeting moment. Very soon, we will all be laid to rest in the grave. Seventhly, it is never the actions of other people that disturb us. Their actions belong entirely to their own minds. It is only our own opinions about those actions that cause us pain. Throw away those judgments. Decide right now to stop viewing the situation as a personal disaster, and your anger will vanish. How do you remove those judgments? By reminding yourself that what they did does not actually damage your character. If you do not believe that moral shame is the only true evil, you will end up committing terrible crimes yourself. You could easily become a thief or a total villain. Eighthly, think about how much more damage we suffer from our own anger and grief than from the things that made us angry in the first place. Ninthly, true gentleness is invincible as long as it is genuine and not a fake, mocking smile. What can the most insulting person in the world do to you if you consistently treat him with kindness? If you get the chance, gently correct him right at the exact moment he is trying to harm you. You can say, "No, my son, we were born for better things. You cannot hurt me, but you are hurting yourself." Calmly and delicately show him the broader truth. Remind him that bees and other social animals do not attack their own kind. Do this without any sarcasm or bitterness in your voice. Do not lecture him or try to show off to anyone listening. Speak directly to him, even if there is a crowd around you. Remember these 9 lessons as if they were gifts from the muses, and start acting like a true human being for the rest of your life. Be equally careful to avoid getting angry at people and to avoid flattering them. Both are destructive to society and lead straight to harm. Whenever you feel your temper rising, remind yourself that flying into a rage is not manly. Gentleness and calm behavior are far more human, and therefore much more masculine. It is the mild and gentle person who possesses real strength, nerve, and courage, not the angry and impatient one. The closer a person gets to mastering their emotions, the closer they get to true power. Breaking down in grief is a sign of weakness, and so is losing your temper. In both cases, you have been injured, and you have surrendered. If you want a 10th gift from the leader of the muses, take this one. Expecting bad people not to do bad things is pure madness. It is demanding the impossible. But allowing them to abuse other people while selfishly demanding they never cross you is the mark of a foolish tyrant. 19. There are 4 states of the mind you must constantly guard against. When you catch them slipping in, you must wipe them out immediately by telling yourself the following. First, this thought is completely unnecessary. Second, this thought destroys our connection to other people. Third, you cannot say this from your true heart, and speaking anything other than your deep truth is the most absurd way to live. The 4th state is anything that causes you to feel ashamed of yourself. This shame means the divine and reasoning part of your soul has surrendered to the lowest, physical, and mortal part of your body. 20. Your body is made of airy and fiery elements that naturally want to rise. However, they obey the universal law and stay grounded to keep you whole. You are also made of earthy and watery elements that naturally want to sink. Yet they are held up and remain in place, even though that is not their natural position. The physical elements always obey the grand design, staying exactly where a higher power put them, waiting for the final signal to dissolve. Isn't it tragic that your mind is the only part of you that rebels and complains about its job? No one is forcing your mind to do anything against its own nature. But it still grows impatient and fights back. Every time you lean toward injustice, wild indulgence, anger, sorrow, or fear, you are abandoning nature. When your soul complains about anything that happens to you, it is abandoning its post. Your soul was built for reverence and devotion to the divine, just as much as it was built for justice. In fact, honoring the universe is an even older and deeper part of social goodness than the practice of justice itself. 21. A person who does not have a single, constant goal in life cannot remain the same person throughout their life. But simply having one goal is not enough. You must also figure out what that goal should actually be. Most people cannot agree on what is good, except when it comes to things that benefit the public. Therefore, your single goal should be to serve society and your fellow citizens. The person who points all of his personal goals toward the common good will keep his actions steady. By doing this, he will always remain the same steadfast man. 22. Remember the story of the country mouse and the city mouse. Think about how the city mouse lived in constant fear and trembling. 23. Socrates used to say that the beliefs of the common crowd are just monsters and ghost stories meant to scare children. 24. When the Spartans hosted public shows, they always placed the seats for strangers in the shade. But they themselves sat wherever they could find room. 25. When Perdiccas invited Socrates to his court, Socrates refused. He gave this excuse, "I do not want to suffer the worst fate possible, which is to receive favors I can never repay." 26. In the writings of the ancient Ephesians, there is a helpful rule. They tell us to constantly remember the great people of the past who lived lives of deep virtue. 27. The Pythagoreans advised us to look up at the morning sky. It reminds us of the stars and planets that do their proper work endlessly and without failure. It reminds us of their perfect order, purity, and naked simplicity. After all, a star wears no disguise. 28. Think of Socrates wrapping himself in an animal skin after his wife Xanthippe took his cloak and left the house. Remember what he said to his friends when they were embarrassed and tried to run away from him because he was dressed so strangely. 29. You have to be taught how to read and write before you can teach anyone else. This is even more true when it comes to learning how to live. 30. Since you are still a slave to your own desires, your words can never truly be free. 31. And my heart laughed inside me. 32. They attack virtue itself with the harshest words imaginable. 33. Searching for fresh figs in the dead of winter is pure madness. It is just as crazy to cling to a child who is no longer meant to be yours. 34. Epictetus said that when you kiss your child good night, you should whisper to yourself, "Tomorrow, he may die." People would respond, "Those are terrible, unlucky words." But Epictetus replied, "They are not unlucky at all. They simply describe a natural event. Is it unlucky to say that the corn has been harvested?" 35. The unripe grape, the ripe cluster, and the dried raisin are all just stages of change. They do not turn into nothingness. they simply transform into something that does not yet exist. 36. As Epictetus once said, no one on earth can steal your freedom of choice. 37. Epictetus also told us we need to learn the true art of giving our agreement to things. When it comes to our desires, he said we must carefully restrain them. They must be guided by caution, a focus on the common good, and a strong sense of proportion. He also warned us to completely avoid wild sensual passions, and to stop fighting against the things we simply cannot control. 38. He also said that this struggle is not about some random, unimportant issue. The fight is to decide whether we are going to be insane or sane. 39. Socrates asks, what do you want? Do you want the souls of rational beings or irrational animals? You answer, rational beings. Socrates continues, what kind of rational beings? Virtuous or vicious? You say, virtuous. Then he asks, so why aren't you out there seeking them? You reply, because we already have them. And Socrates delivers the final blow, then why are you all constantly fighting and arguing with each other? Book 12. 1. Everything you are trying to reach through a long, roundabout path can be yours right now, if you only stop holding yourself back. This means leaving the past behind, trusting the future to fate, and focusing entirely on living the present moment with reverence and justice. Live with reverence, so you can accept your assigned path, because nature designed it for you and you for it. Live with justice, so you can speak the truth freely and without deception. Do what is right and proper. Do not let the wickedness, opinions, or gossip of others stop you. Do not let the sensations of your physical body hold you back, let the body worry about its own feelings. If you are nearing the end of your life and choose to focus solely on your guiding mind and the divine spark within you, leaving everything else behind, if you stop fearing the end of life and instead fear never truly beginning to live in harmony with nature, then you will be a man worthy of the universe that created you. You will stop acting like a stranger in your own world, staring in shock at everyday events, and getting distracted by this or that trivial thing. 2. God sees all souls stripped of their physical shells, husks, and garbage. With his intelligence alone, he touches only what he placed inside us, the part that flowed directly from him. If you train yourself to do the same, you will spare yourself a great deal of suffering. A person who ignores their flesh will not waste time worrying about clothing, houses, reputation, or any other external trappings and showpieces. 3. You are made of 3 parts, body, breath, and mind. The first 2 belong to you only in the sense that you must care for them, but the third is your true self. If you separate your mind from the actions and words of others, from your own past actions and words, and from your fears about the future, if you detach yourself from the uncontrollable events affecting your body and breath, and from the chaotic storms of the outside world, your pure, untangled mind can live freely. It can live justly, accept what happens, and speak the truth. I repeat, if you clear your mind of excessive attachment to the past and the future, you will become like Empedocles' sphere. Perfectly round and rejoicing in its endless rest. Focus on living the only life you actually have, the present. Then you can spend whatever time remains in noble tranquility, completely at peace with your inner spirit. For, I have always found it strange that everyone loves themselves more than anyone else, yet values their own opinion of themselves less than the opinions of others. If a god or a wise teacher ordered a man to instantly speak aloud every thought that popped into his head, he wouldn't last a single day. This shows how we fear what our neighbors think of us far more than we respect our own thoughts. 5. How is it possible that the gods, who organized everything perfectly for humanity's benefit, overlooked just one detail? Namely, that some of the best people, those closest to the divine, who spent their lives doing good works and honoring the gods, die and simply vanish, never to return. If this is truly the case, you can be absolutely certain that if things should have been different, the gods would have made them different. If it were right, it would have been possible. If it were in harmony with nature, nature would have made it happen. Because it is not this way, assuming it really isn't, you must trust that it wasn't meant to be. Notice that by debating this, you are arguing about justice with the gods. We wouldn't argue with them if they weren't completely good and just. And if they are entirely good and just, they wouldn't have carelessly or unfairly neglected any part of the universe's design. 6. try doing even the things you think you are terrible at. Notice how your left hand is mostly useless because it lacks practice, yet it holds the reins of a horse more firmly than your right hand, because that is what it was trained to do. 7. Think about the state your body and soul should be in when death finally catches you. Remember how short life is, the infinite stretches of time before and after you, and how fragile all material things are. 8. Look at the core causes of things, stripped of all disguises. Examine the true nature of pain, pleasure, death, and fame. Realize how often people cause their own endless anxiety. Recognize that no one can truly stop you, and everything is simply a matter of your own perspective. 9. When using your core principles, be like a wrestler, not a gladiator with a sword. If the gladiator drops his weapon, he is doomed. But the wrestler always has his hands attached and only needs to use them. 10. Look closely at the true nature of things. Break them down into their material, their cause, and their purpose. 11. What a glorious power humans possess. We have the ability to only take actions that God would approve of, and to welcome whatever fate God assigns us. 12. We should never blame the gods for natural events, because they do no wrong, intentionally or otherwise. We shouldn't blame people either, because they do wrong out of ignorance. Therefore, there is no one to blame. 13. How ridiculous and out of touch it is to be surprised by anything that happens in life. 14. The universe operates by one of three rules: an unchangeable fate, a caring providence that we can pray to, or blind chaos without a leader. If it is an unchangeable fate, why fight it? If it is a caring providence, make yourself worthy of divine help. If it is aimless chaos, find comfort in knowing you have an intelligent mind to guide you through the storm. If the storm sweeps you away, let it take your body and your breath, because it can never take your mind. 15. A lamp's light continues to shine and keeps its brightness until it is put out. Will you let your own truth, justice, and self-control be extinguished before you are? 16. When you believe someone has done wrong, ask yourself, how do I know for sure this is a sin? And if they really did do wrong, realize that they are their own judge and jury, like someone tearing at their own face in frustration. Wishing that bad people wouldn't do bad things is like wishing a fig tree wouldn't produce juice, babies wouldn't cry, or horses wouldn't neigh. It is wishing for the impossible. What else can a bad person do with a bad character? If it bothers you so much, help them cure it. 17. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. 18. Always try to understand exactly what is triggering your reactions. Break it apart and analyze the cause, the material, its relation to other things, and the specific time it will inevitably end. 19. Finally realize that you have something better and more divine inside you than the simple instincts pulling your strings toward pleasure or pain. What is dominating your mind right now? Is it fear? Suspicion? Lust? Or some other wild emotion? 20. First, never act randomly or without a clear purpose. Second, make sure your purpose always serves the common good. 21. In a short while, you will be gone. Nothing you see right now will remain, and no one alive today will still be here. It is the nature of everything to change, transform, and decay, so that new things can be born from the ashes. 22. Remember that everything is simply a matter of perspective, and you control your perspective. Delete your negative opinions whenever you want. You will feel like a sailor who has just rounded a stormy cape and sailed into a calm, peaceful bay without a single wave. 23. Any natural action that finishes at its proper time suffers no harm by ending. The person who performed the action suffers no harm either. In the same way, if the entire series of actions we call life ends at its proper time, it suffers no harm by stopping. The person completing that life cycle is not harmed either. Nature sets the right time and limit. Sometimes it is your own nature, like dying of old age, but it is always the universal nature keeping the whole system fresh and blooming through this constant cycle of change. Whatever benefits the universe is always good and timely. Therefore, the end of life cannot be bad for any individual. There is nothing shameful about it, since we do not control it and it does not harm the common good. In fact, it is a good thing, because it is timely, helpful, and in perfect rhythm with the universe. A person is truly led by God when they walk the same path as God, moving in the exact same direction. 24. Keep these 3 thoughts ready at all times. First, never act carelessly, and never act differently than justice herself would. As for outside events, they happen by either chance or divine plan, and you have no right to complain about either. Second, examine everything from the moment it is a seed to the moment it gains life, and from life to death. Look at what it is made of, and what it will eventually break down into. Third, imagine you could float high above the earth and look down at all human affairs. You would see incredible variety, and you would see all the spiritual beings surrounding us. But no matter how many times you floated up there, you would always see the exact same things, all uniform and short-lived. Is this really something to be proud of? 25. Throw away your opinions, and you are saved. Who is stopping you from throwing them away? 26. When you get angry about anything, you have forgotten that everything happens exactly as the universe intends, and that the wrong was committed by someone else. You have forgotten that whatever happens has always happened, will always happen, and is happening everywhere right now. You have forgotten the massive connection between you and the entire human race, a connection not of blood or genetics, but of a shared mind. You have forgotten that everyone's mind is divine and comes directly from God. You have forgotten that you own absolutely nothing, your children, your body, and your very life are on loan from God. You have forgotten that everything is a matter of perspective, and that you only ever live, and lose, the exact present moment. 27. Keep bringing to mind the people who complain too much, or those who achieved the absolute peaks of fame, tragedy, bitter rivalries, or extreme luck. Then stop and ask, where are they all now? Smoke, ashes, and an old story, or maybe entirely forgotten. Think of Fabius Catilinus relaxing in the country, Lucius Lupus in his gardens, Stertinius at Baiae, Tiberius at Capreae, Velius Rufus, and anyone else who chased high status and popularity. How cheap are the things people eagerly hunt for? It is much better for a philosopher to quietly do their job in their small corner of the world. Be just, exercise self-control, and follow the gods with simplicity. The absolute worst thing is being proud of your own fake humility. 28. If someone asks you, where have you seen the gods, and how are you so sure they exist that you worship them, answer them like this. First, you can see their work with your own eyes. Second, I have never seen my own soul, yet I honor it. The same goes for the gods, I constantly feel their power, so I know they exist, and I worship them. 29. The secret to a safe, steady life is to look closely at the complete nature of everything. Break down its material and its purpose. Practice justice with all your heart, and speak the truth. What is left to do but enjoy life, linking one good deed to the next until there isn't a single gap? 30. There is only one light from the sun, even though it breaks across walls, hills, and a million other objects. There is only one shared material substance, even though it is split among 10,000 bodies with endless different traits. There is only one soul, even though it is divided among countless different living creatures. There is only one intelligent mind, even though it seems cut up into pieces. The physical parts of these things, like breath and matter, have no feeling or connection to one another, but they are still held together by gravity and that one guiding spirit. Intelligence, however, naturally reaches out to connect with its own kind, and that shared feeling can never be broken. 31. What do you really want? To just keep living? Is it to feel things, or to chase desires? To grow and then decay? To speak or think? Which of these is actually worth wanting? If they are all worthless, move on to the final goal, following reason and following God. If you truly respect reason and God, you won't cry over losing those other worthless things in death. 32. Think about how tiny our slice of the endless timeline really is, and how quickly it vanishes into eternity. We get such a microscopic amount of the universe's material and spirit. We crawl on a tiny speck of dust in the vast universe. Keeping all this in mind, realize that the only truly great thing is to act as your nature directs, and gracefully accept whatever the universe's nature throws your way. 33. How is your guiding mind doing? Everything depends on this. Every single other thing, whether you control it or not, is nothing but dead weight, dust, and smoke. 34. This thought should really help you stop fearing death. Even the people who thought pleasure was the only good and pain was the only evil didn't fear death. 35. The person who only cares about doing the right thing at the right time doesn't worry about death. They don't care if they get to perform more actions aligned with reason or fewer. They don't care if they get to look at the universe for a long time or a short time. Death simply holds no terror for them. 36. Man, you have lived as a citizen in this great city of the universe. What does it matter if you were here for 5 years or 3? What the law dictates is fair to everyone. So why is it a tragedy if you are sent out of the city? You are not being banished by a dictator or a corrupt judge, but by the very nature that brought you here in the first place. It is exactly like a director who hires an actor and then dismisses them from the stage. But I've only performed 3 acts, not the full 5, you might say. That is true, but in your life, 3 acts make up the entire play. The length of the play is decided by the one who wrote it and the one who is now ending it. You didn't control either part. So make your exit gracefully, because the one dismissing you is full of grace. The end. This audiobook presentation of Meditations is produced by TKP Roth. The original public domain text has been carefully edited, modernized, and structurally adapted to optimize the listening experience. All audio narration, mixing, and sound design were uniquely generated and arranged for this specific edition. Original author, Marcus Aurelius, circa 161 to 180 AD. Translation base, George W. Crystal, 1902. Modernization and audio production, TKP Roth, 2026. Copyright symbol 2026 TKP Roth. All rights reserved. No part of this specific audio recording or modernized manuscript may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form without the prior written permission of the publisher.